All right, we got the new Dog Times hat. It's embroidered. It's pretty rad. We'll talk about that after. What is up, folks? I am Justin Phillip, and today I have some new filters to share with you guys. Okay, so if you guys missed the first video I did on my filter kit, I put it out last year sometime, and it's been a while, and I've acquired like 6 new filters since that video. If you haven't seen that video, I'm gonna put a link to it down in the description below. I highly recommend you check it out, because if you're someone like me and you love using filters, filters are just as important as the lenses that I choose, then you're probably really gonna dig that video. This is my current filter kit. This is the new box I got for it since the last video. Now this is just a really inexpensive safety box that I got from Harbor Freight, and you can pick these up for like 25 bucks. And yeah, so my filter kit right now is roughly around $4,000, give or take. Now it's not like I bought all these at once, and it's not like I bought all of them brand new either. I do live in LA, and if you guys follow the channel, you know I talk all the time how I buy fairly used equipment from fellow local cinematographers out here in the Los Angeles area. But I did pick up 6 new filters since the last one, and I've been gearing up for a short film I've been hired to be the cinematographer on. So I've been doing a lot of lighting tests, a lot of filter tests, and sharing them back and forth with the director and creating my own custom LUT. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. If you are interested in creating your own custom LUT, maybe you don't know how to go about doing that, then I'm gonna put a link down in the description below. I just dropped a 47-minute long video over on the Dog Times Patreon, completely showing how I'm creating the current custom LUT for this job. Now, LUTs are a thing that I think are getting a little twisted nowadays. People are just thinking that a LUT is color grading, when that's not really the case. A cinematographer works closely with a DIT in creating a custom LUT for each particular job that they're hired to do in, you know, higher level studio jobs. Now, I don't want you to get twisted what I just said. Some people hear DIT and they think you're referring to the person that offloads media and backs up the media on set. That is not a DIT. That is a common misconception. The person you are actually thinking about is DMT, Digital Media Technician. The DMT is the person that is in charge of offloading the media, making sure that there's no drop frames, that there's no files being lost or deleted. They're the ones backing up all your media on set, DMT. What I'm talking about is a DIT, Digital Imaging Technician. They're the person that is usually in a tent somewhere on set. They got lots of monitors, they're watching the exposure levels, they're watching the scopes, they're doing all of that, and they're monitoring that along with the lookup table and talking back and forth with the cinematographer, making sure that nothing is getting crushed too hard or nothing's getting clipped too hard, right? That's what I'm talking about, a DIT. But I digress. Let's hop back into the nature at hand and talk about some of my new filters. Now, the first one I'm going to show you is from a company that I'm not really familiar with when I think of filter companies. It's made by a company named H&H, and this is a fog filter. Now, this is pretty awesome. I picked this up for a feature film that I worked on last year called A Chance Before Hell. The reason why I picked up this filter is because I knew that I wanted some atmosphere in some of my shots, or otherwise known as haze, and you can get that. Usually you would pay hundreds of dollars for an actual haze machine, or you could go the low budget crappy route that I went and buy a $30 fog machine off of Amazon. I do not recommend that, and because one, fog doesn't really give you the same look that a real haze machine does. Also, the fog machine tends to cut off and on, especially when it's a cheap one like the one I bought, and it kind of breaks down a lot. So I kind of knew that in pre-production going in before we started the shoot, and I know it's a feature film, but it was very low budget. I mean, we shot a 90-minute feature film in 9 days total for under 90 grand. So you have a little idea of the project that we were working on, the scope of it anyways. And I knew going in, like, okay, this fog machine's gonna crap out on me. I was smart enough to know that, so I picked up this fog filter. And it's actually pretty awesome. Here you can see some raw footage, real world results. This is actual footage from the feature film with that fog filter on. And yeah, it's pretty intense. Now, it is a little bit of a dreamy effect, but for this particular feature film, it had 3 different worlds, right? And the one world where I was using the fog filter was a world where it was kind of a purgatory, dreamlike world, right? So it fit that. But here, for the current filter tests and lighting tests going into the short film that I'm working on, here you'll see what it looks like with no filter. Now, keep in mind that the saturation is really high in the shot. The lighting is kind of stylized, and I do have a LUT that I created for this stylized shoot. So don't get too weirded out by how high the saturation is in this shot. It's for an exact look that I've curated and that the director has approved. But we're just looking at it to see, like, this is what it'll look like with no filter, and now you'll see what it looks like with the fog filter. And you can really see what it's doing with the highlights with that cell phone flashlight on. It's pretty interesting, in fact. It is nice for someone like me that cannot afford a real haze machine. Maybe one day. Okay, the next one I have is from Tiffen. This is a pretty awesome one. This is one of my more recent ones, so I really haven't gotten the opportunity to use this on a paid gig yet. I have really been trying to, but it's a really stylized look. This is a soft net filter. And this bad boy kind of goes back to the olden days. Maybe if you've been around with some more old school or more of a purist cinematographer on set, some cinematographers still carry around women's pantyhose stockings in their kit. The reason why they do that is because they take the pantyhose stocking and they attach it to the rear end of the lens, you know, the rear element, before they attach it to the camera. And what this does, it creates a very nice, soft, kind of what people refer to as an old Hollywood style look. And here you'll see what the soft net filter is doing in the shot, in our test shot here. So it really blooms it out, really gives a really wild dream effect. And I've just heard back from the director of this particular short film that I'm doing these tests for, that we're actually going to be using this soft net filter for one of the shots. Again, it is kind of a dreamy shot. So he was really digging what it was doing. And it is a very interesting stylized look, I will say that. But I got it because I have had my eyes on something like this for a long time. Basically what Tiffen have done here, they have taken the stocking net and they've just squashed it in between glass. Now you would say, well, Justin, why don't you just do what you just talked about and just bring, you know, $2 stockings, you know, and bring them in your kit. The problem is it's hard to maintain those stockings, you know, especially when you start swapping lenses, and the stockings are gonna get ripped. Even if they don't get ripped, they're gonna get stretched. They're gonna lose that same look, and it's gonna be really hard to maintain that consistency from shot to shot. So that is why you would get an actual soft net filter to where it's not gonna get ripped or stretched out. Okay, the next one is a digital diffusion FX filter. Now, in my past filter video, I talked about one of my favorite diffusion filters, the Hollywood Blackmagic. I talked about it enough in that previous video. Again, links will be down in the description below, or if you're on a mobile device, the videos are over here, right? So you can go back and check that out. The Hollywood Blackmagic is by far one of my #1 favorite diffusion filters. I almost use it on every single shoot. I don't even care if it's a corporate interview shoot, I use it. It just does really nice stuff to the highlights. I'm actually even using it right now. It's on my lens right here. I'm shooting on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K with a Contax Zeiss 50mm f1.4 lens, and I have a 1/4 Hollywood Blackmagic filter attached. And with me, I have really weathered skin. I'm 35 years old. I grew up in Orange County, Florida, so I got ripped and tore apart by the sun, and I have a very wrinkly face. And so something like the Hollywood Blackmagic filter, it really helps smooth out faces and wrinkles, and it really does a nice halation on all of the, on my background lights back here. Here you'll see right here, I have a Falcon Eyes F7 RGB pocket light. You'll notice it's kind of bloomy. Over here underneath these shears inside the lampshade, I have a little RGB Andy Cine R1 pocket light, RGB light, so you can just see what it's kind of doing. It does a nice halation effect as well as helping with the wrinkles and stuff. So how it came about of me picking up a digital diffusion FX filter is because I was listening to an interview with the cinematographer of a little show on Amazon Prime called Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and the cinematographer of that show is M. David Mullen, a very talented cinematographer. He also will have conversations with you on the Red user forums. I mean, he's very open to sharing his ideas and tips and tricks. And he always uses, I mean, I don't want to say always, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I know on a lot of projects he shoots, he likes to use the Hollywood Blackmagic filter. I believe he only uses an eighth. And when I talk about eighth or quarter or 2 or 1, those are just the different strengths that you can buy them in. And you know, it goes in the way that they're ordered. So obviously an eighth is one of the lesser strengths, whereas if you get a 2, now you're getting into the stronger strengths. But I know like he has mentioned a lot that he uses an 8th Hollywood Blackmagic filter on a lot of shoots he does. And for instance, on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, he said he used an 8th Hollywood Blackmagic filter a lot on that shoot. But there were certain shots where there were light sources in the frame and it was it was blooming out a little too much. You know, because right now you can see there's some halation going on with these lights that I have in the background, but we don't actually see the source itself. But it's still doing a little bit of halation to just the ambient light. But if you had an actual shot, if you had an actual light in the frame, and here you'll see because I used an HBM for the current test that I'm doing for the project I'm currently working on, and here you'll see what the Hollywood Blackmagic is doing with that cell phone flashlight here. It's not a lot, but it is doing a little something. But there were so many lights in the shot that M. David Mullen was doing on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel that they were just it was kind of taking over the talent. So what he ended up doing is swapping out the Hollywood Blackmagic with a digital diffusion FX filter, and it cut it down a little bit. And here you'll see the difference on the little test shoot I was doing between the digital diffusion and the Hollywood Blackmagic. And if you take notice here, the digital diffusion does bring down the bloominess of the specular highlight, but it's also keeping the sharpness of the person's face. So here we have the mannequin's face here, but you can tell that if you look at the Hollywood Blackmagic, it really kind of softens her face. And then if you look at the digital diffusion, it's keeping the sharpness of her face. So that's something very interesting. I like to think of digital diffusion being a nice little filter in between the old throwback, the Black Pro Mist, and the Hollywood Blackmagic. So you have the cliche, everyone uses Black Pro Mist, and then you have kind of, the higher end Hollywood Blackmagic, and I think digital diffusion sits right in the middle of those two. The next one is one that I was pretty pumped to get. This is from Schneider, and this is in their True Streak lineup. This is the blue True Streak filter. Now this is a really strong strength. This is a number 2, and it is a blue color streak. And I went kind of on the higher strength because I really wanted a really distinct, like, anamorphic look. I've even put out videos on this YouTube channel like 3 years ago showing some DIY kind of anamorphic filters that I've made, and they're really intense. And you can usually get away with them with fishing line. In my previous filter video, I talked about some from Vid Atlantic, but this Schneider one is by far one of the more legitimate and kind of nicest looking streak filters I've ever used, and it's pretty dang nice. And by the way, I'm gonna have links to any of these filters down in the description below if any of you guys wanna go check them out for yourselves, because the prices kind of vary. Okay, so now the next one, and this is kind of very, very cool. This is also in the Schneider True Streak lineup. This is one of their newer ones. This is the confetti filter. Now, I know I talked about in my previous video the Lee 6-point star filter. This one really takes it to a whole nother level. Look at this confetti filter. Now, this is pretty extravagant, pretty stylized, and I have yet to convince any director to let me use it on a shoot, but here's where I think it would really shine for my music video guys and my wedding guys, or even my like concert live event guys. Now, when I see this filter, I go, whoa, you could do some really cool stuff with this if you were a wedding videographer, right? I'm thinking of those close-up shots of the ring, or maybe when you have to do the nice beauty shot of her dress, and if her dress has some sequins on it, or any of those dance floor shots, and grandma and grandpa are out there cutting a rug, it would look really cool with all the lights happening on the dance floor. So yeah, some of you guys might want to check out that confetti filter. And then also, this is just kind of something I wanted to add. If you guys have any huge lenses like me, if you guys follow the channel, you know I have this classic Zeiss lens that is a 15 mil, really wide lens, but not a whole lot of curvature at all, and it is not a fisheye. I really love this lens, but again, I think that's why it's like an $1,800 lens. But the hardest thing for it is being able to use ND filters with it. If you're like me, you have the Pocket 4K or the Pocket 6K, and you don't have any built-in ND filters, so it can always be a problem because that lens is so huge, you can't even use a matte box with it. And so I've picked up this Format High-Tech IR ND, which is cool because it has built-in, it has IR cut into it, and that's always nice. So then you don't have to, stack on an IR filter before your NDs. And it's a 95 millimeter screw-on IR&D, so that's pretty rad. And it's nice that the classic Zeiss is a huge 15 mil lens, but it still has a screw thread inside the tulip. So it's nice that you can use this 95 millimeter IR&D, and this is a 1.8, so this is a pretty good strength of ND. I'll put a link to this if any of you guys have big wide lenses and you're looking to find a good IR&D for it. If you're wondering what I use for my filters and you are kind of new to the channel here, I did a review last year on what I think and still think is the best, lightest matte box, especially with all the latest trends that I'm seeing on YouTube. Like, you know, there's a lot of new light clip-on, clamp-on matte boxes I'm seeing, and to me, they still don't shake a stick at what I use, and that is the Wooden Camera ZipBox Pro Swing Away matte box. And it's a swing away, so that's more traditional style. You can use it on rods, or it does have the option you can do it as a clamp on as well, because it weighs less than a pound. It has a nice carbon fiber brow on it. But the coolest thing about it to me is that it is a 3 filter stage system. So I can stack up to 3 square filters, and they don't have to be limited to size, right? You can use any 4x4, 4x5.65, so they all fit in there. But what's nice about it is that they just don't sit in there straight. You can angle them in at an angle. A lot of times when you start stacking glass in front of glass, you're gonna have reflection problems. And that's where the Wooden Camera ZipBox Pro really shines, in my opinion, because you can start tilting those filters and fight that glare. And that's what all the hip new matte boxes I see out there don't have. And they also don't have the ability to hold 3 filters at once. So yeah, I'll have links to those videos and all of these gear things down in the description below if you wanna check them all out. And again, if you're interested in following me on my behind the scenes journey of taking you on all the projects that I work on, you might want to check out the Dog Times Patreon. It's patreon.com/JustinPhillip. I know I push it in every video, but people are always asking me about jobs that I'm working on, and the only way to really get in on that is to be on the Patreon world. And I know a lot of my viewers are kind of disgruntled about that, because I used to share all that info right here on YouTube, and I kind of got in trouble for doing that because it gets in the wrong people's hands. You know, this is YouTube world, so not everyone that watches me enjoys me. You have more haters than I do lovers, believe it or not. So it is what it is. So I had to keep my actual working life separate from like the kind of YouTube world. And what I do over on Patreon, I take you on the whole process, the pre-production phase. That's why right now I just put out that 47-minute long video of how to create LUTs. And then we go day by day, every day on set. I take you guys with me, and we do that with behind the scenes videos, behind the scenes photos. We look at the overhead, the shot designs, the scene designs. We break down the lighting, we break down the cinematography. We talk about all the drama that happens on set with clients, directors, crew, everything. And then we just kind of dissect and analyze my work and talk about what worked, what didn't work, and we all kind of learn along the way. So yeah, if you're interested in that, I'll put a link to the Patreon down in the description below. As always, thank you so much if you made it this far. I really appreciate people that just kind of follow along throughout the whole way. And I wanted to talk about these new Dog Times trucker hats. You guys know I wear hats a lot in the videos. If you've been on the channel a while, I love hats. I had this company hook it up. These are embroidered Dog Times hats. So this is a cool new thing, guys. We have these and they are now available. I'm kind of cutting out Design by Humans. I've noticed that they charge a whole heck of a lot, and their stuff is nice, but it's not as nice as what they're charging for. And the percentage that they give me, they should not be charging as much as they do. So I'm gonna just like phase out Design by Humans altogether, and I'm gonna just kind of cut out the middleman, and we're gonna go our own route. So I have a lot of cool new Dog Time swag coming into play here. So if you're into these embroidered, I mean, it's embroidered. I'm like so stoked that it's embroidered on there. It's one thing to have like a screen print thing, but the fact that they took the logo, they embroidered it on the hat. It's a trucker hat, it's cool. The only thing is I wish it was a little more flat bill, you know, because I'm kind of a goofy skater kid. I like it more flat, but it's okay. I can rock baseball style. But yeah, if you're interested in these hats, they're very, very inexpensive. I think these are like 22 bucks. So yeah, if you want to get one, just DM me over on Instagram. Hopefully you guys are all following me at JPOnFilm, or just contact me right through here, or just go to my website, justinphillip.net. There's plenty of ways to contact me if you're interested in picking up a Dog Times trucker embroidered hat. So for now, that's a wrap.